So before I start this review, I just want to establish that seeing Jack Black play a teenage high school girl trapped in his own body is one of the best things that I've seen in 2018 so far. Today on Readus Reviews, I review Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, the sequel to the 1995 original Jumanji movie starring Robin Williams, which I'm glad they went with because I was gonna be pissed. That being said, the movie starts off a year later after the game has been discovered on an American beach, which is a slight continuity error considering what the end of the first one was, but I can excuse it. But given the fact that it's 1996 and that its current generation of victims don't play board games anymore, it transforms into a video game, which I thought was interesting. And after it claims its first victim, a la Alan Parrish, it fast forwards to modern time, where a group of Breakfast Club individuals all get detention and they stumble upon the game that was donated from, I guess, the parents of the missing kid, because that's frequent in Jumanji movies now. Long story short, they get sucked into the game, which is the actual jungle of Jumanji, with a few things morphed to match that of a video game story, each appearing as different avatars of the characters that they selected with different powers, skills, and weaknesses. And they have to work together to beat the game in order to get out alive. So as far as the plot and story is concerned, it was pretty much what I was expecting considering all the trailers and the promotional material I've been seeing over the course of the period of time. The thing that kind of drew me into wanting to see this, however, is it kind of reminded me of one of the earlier episodes of Butch Hartman's The Fairly Odd Parents episodes, when Timmy and his friends got trapped in like a video game that he wished that he couldn't wish himself out of, that he had to beat in order to get out. And I always kind of wanted to see how that would translate on film, so once I found out that the sequel to Jumanji was going to be a video game, outside of wondering how it was going to connect to the original, I wanted to see how the video game aspect was going to play out, how the life system was going to play out, everything. And I can honestly say that after seeing this movie and seeing how they handled the concept, it didn't disappoint me, not at all. And despite the game making the change from board game to video game, I felt that it did a good job following all of its rules that it established in the original, which helped me enjoy the movie a lot better. So that being said, let's start with the characters that stood out to me the most, starting with Spencer and Martha. I felt that the two of them had the most character development over the course of the story and were the most relatable to me over their entire course inside the game. They both learned a very valuable lesson. The only thing stopping them from being their ultimate self is themselves, and I kind of learned that the hard way too, so. Bethany, I thought, was a bit more of a support character to Martha's development during the first half of their time in the game, and then they stumbled upon Alex. And honestly, I wasn't really that mad on how they decided to divvy her character up as far as that was concerned. Because normally I'm not a real big fan of the only way to develop a character is through a romance, but in this case it kind of worked for me. Other things I liked about the movie was how they transitioned from a board game to a video game. I felt that it was done in a way that made it feel like it didn't feel out of place for it to fit in the same universe as the original movie, considering that everything that the board game version and the video game version can do. More specifically, the board game version. I also like that the Easter egg / homage they paid to Robin Williams' character Alan Parrish served as a canonical establishment of like some actual lore in this version of the Jumanji universe. Because not only did it show that this movie is an actual continuation of the 1995 original, but it also established that while the game will change its format in order to get people to play, the Jumanji jungle in its base will always stay the same. Like, the people who are always inside the jungle will always be reincorporated as NPCs or bosses, depending on the transition from board game to video game, but the jungle itself doesn't really change. And while it did introduce a couple of new rules because it changed to a video game format, like I said before, the game itself followed pretty much the same exact rules that the first one already established. Especially what happens to the passing of time when you actually beat Jumanji. And all the while seeing them incorporate the same rules from the original and installing new ones because of the video game format just makes me wonder, just how powerful is this game? But there are a couple of things I didn't necessarily care for in this movie. Starting with the villain, or should I say final boss of Jumanji, Van Pelt. He's definitely not the same Van Pelt from the 1995 original, but I established that the game reimagined him as more of a final boss video game character than the version that we got in the 1995 original. But I felt that they could have handled him a lot better than how they did. See, the thing that made Van Pelt a compelling antagonist in the first movie was that he was the living embodiment of Alan's fear of taking responsibility for his actions. He was part of his development. While Russell Van Pelt's power set was a nice idea to incorporate him as a boss for this video game version of Jumanji, he kinda lacked both the dimension and the connection to the main characters that made him as good as the OG Van Pelt. Another thing that I didn't like was, while Kevin Hart's performance was hilarious, do not get me wrong, it kinda caused the development for his character Fridge to suffer a bit because he kinda wasn't playing Fridge, he was playing himself. Everybody else did a great job portraying their in real life counterparts perfectly, The Rock, Jack Black, Amy Pond. But because Kevin Hart was too busy playing himself over the course of the movie, it kinda made it hard for me to believe Fridge's growth moments with Spencer to actually have any merit, if you understand what I'm saying. The creative choice definitely made it hard for me to believe that he was learning how to not be a shitty person in real life. But outside of that, and in my opinion how they missed the mark on how to better handle Van Pelt for this situation, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle got pretty much 80% of everything else that the first movie established right. Both the IRL teen actors and the Avatar actors did a great job of being funny, progressive, or both. And the premise was a believable next step in where I could see a continuation of the 1995 original movie. While I wouldn't say that this is definitely worth a full-fledged undiscounted movie ticket, I would definitely say catch a matinee for this one. And at least get it on DVD when it comes out in home video. So with that, readers, your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comment section below what you thought of Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle if you've seen it. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.